I said we are the smoldering, burning remains of a Black republic that was never allowed to happen. We are the most free people on planet Earth to decide what, when, where, and how our destiny can and will look like.
As the US and Japan have a deep history and relationship, a Japanese and American couple has been quite common and familiar to us.
Americans did look more attractive. They are well-fed, happy-go-lucky. They had tremendous appeal to young girls.
Per the Japan Reporter, by the late 1950s, tens of thousands of Japanese women and American men had married and moved to the United States.
ドラマとか結構好きで、ちっちゃい時から友達もそういう子が多くて、憧れの俳優さん、アクターとかがいて、で、ハーフの子を見たいなっていうのが、なんかこう、あんま、そうですね、自然とこう思ってて。
What you're going to hear from the Japanese women in this particular video responding is that the images that shaped what they thought American was shaped by Hollywood and servicemen. And the overwhelming number of servicemen were of a certain persuasion.
みんな、いいなみたいな、アメリカかっこいいって言うけど、白人さんかっこいいみたいのって、私もそれがハリウッドの映画とかに憧れたので、気持ちすごくわかるんですけど、今はそれは恥ずかしかったなって思ってるんですね。いろんな方がいらっしゃるから、何々人がかっこいいっていうのは、なんか言語として成り立ってないんですよね。
It's not hard to find expats or people who have been overseas and dated that will tell you there's a pronounced difference between the reaction that different races of American get dating overseas. Some men are more seen as marriage material, and other men are seen more as just guys to have a good time with. But as a new group of men are starting to go overseas, guys that aren't affiliated with either hip-hop, music, Hollywood, or the military, then you're going to get a kind of evening of these stereotypes because, simply put, many people overseas haven't seen guys like us. And the other part of all of this is that all of these young ladies that married these men that they saw that looked like the guys from Hollywood, they kept living their lives and life happened.
そのどういった理由でアメリカの方と別れようっていうふうになるん
なんていうか、相性っていう言葉で片付けていいのかどうかはわからないですけれども、その文化の違いとかも入ってくるとは思うんですけれども、ご主人がアメリカ人と日本の方じゃ分かんないよなってすごく思ったんですよ。
She points out this is often overly emphasized in a Japanese media or TV show, which many women actually believe.
結構やってくださるイメージありますね。でもね、人によるですよ、結局は。
そうか、そうですね。
I'm glad she said that. She said hito ni yoru, which is essentially saying many young ladies here have been sold a kind of idea of what an American man, and I guess the standard American man, you know what he looks like, is going to be like in a marriage. And after 50 some odd years of going from those kinds of images to living real lives with certain people, these ladies, these women have realized a new reality that you cannot judge people by them being from a certain culture and looking like certain people from Hollywood. You have to judge people one by one. And she's going to speak to what she learned about the assumptions that she made dating certain people, basically because they look like the people from television.
傾向はあるけれども、人によるんで、やっぱり全くやらない人もいるし、アメリカの方で日本人的な考えで僕が家庭できてるんだからみたいな。やっぱり女性の方が家事をする量っていうんですか、男性よりは多いっていう。
というか、今考えるとあんまり真剣に取り合わなかったっていうのはありますよね。結局いろんなことがベースのところが違うなっていうのは本当に合わなくて、子供もいるわけで全然やっぱり違うよねっていうことで何回も思い立ったんですけど、もうあまりにも向こうは日本語できないし、日本のことは。
Now that is the main point as to why I brought up this video. This woman was married to a man that did not bother to learn her language. Now, I know that there are some people who say, why are you learning Chinese? Or why do you speak about guys learning the language and doing all of that work? If you don't take the time to do that, you're not going to understand the woman that you're marrying, what she comes from, what she values. And there have been so many Americans that have come to this country and never took the time to invest in learning the language. You don't learn the Jolge Konke when you're speaking up to someone or speaking down to someone or speaking about a colleague to someone that's in a higher position than you. All of these dynamics are part of it. And if you just sweep all of that under the rug and say, well, she looks good in a certain kind of suit, or wherever we go outside when she's in a bathing suit, that's what I like to look at, and I want to marry her and have kids with her, that only works for a couple of years, and then the rest of the marriage comes in.
あと実際離婚してしまう数も結構多い。そこはやっぱり性格的に合わなかったからうまく続かないっていうケースが、アメリカ人男性って聞くと高い理想を持っているところがあるから、その後で思ってたイメージとは違うっていう風になるケースは多い。
It's not talking about freedom, it's talking about autonomy. Autonomy. I think we are the most free to integrate into any culture or society we want to, genetically, nationally, or culturally, because we are quite literally the oldest genetic human beings on planet Earth.
And then a brother asked me about, we got on the subject of women, especially black women, right? And I was talking to a young brother about black men and choices, right? And saying that we don't have to stick with the choices that we have. If black women aren't what we need and up to the par what we think that we deserve or need, we should make different choices. No, not saying anything at the time, not saying anything bad about them. Yeah, I wasn't.
This is a story that BGS is saying about a young gentleman who was speaking with him, and he felt a kind of guilt at moving in a different direction than historically has been done by black men. And you're going to hear BGS address this, but this is a collective guilt that I think many black men have. It's something that I will address later in this video, or should I say nameless protagonist will. But if you don't get over that guilt, you can't even allow yourself to get into the situation of being what nameless calls the world's middlemen, that the ones of us who did not have previous chances to go overseas to even try to adapt will never even get the chance if we don't put that collective guilt down and move with our own personal interest first.
But if they're not what you want, not what you need, they're not meeting your needs, you should make different choices, like date out or go overseas, you know, the usual stuff, SYSBM, passport bros, whatever. And he kind of agreed. He had what I always called black male collective guilt. And the first thing he said is, okay, what's going to happen to the women if I leave? What's going to happen to women if black men leave and do other things? And so I said, okay, why? I said, one, they'll have to make the best of a situation. And number two, why does it matter? And he kept going back and forth that, okay, if black men leave, what will black women do? What kind of men will they have? I said, why does it matter to you? And I kept saying, why does it matter to you what kind of men they'll have? This is a big-ass country. They got 300 million people. If you leave and they don't have the black men that they used to have, hopefully they'll adapt. But that's their problem, not your problem. Why is it your problem? And he kept saying, if black men leave, then black women won't have men. I said again, why is it your problem whether they have men or not? And then I got, after that, we went back and forth with that. And I kept saying, oh, this is your psychological training, that you have been trained that you must stick by black women and stick by them, because if you don't, it's your responsibility to make sure they have men.
And this is the most important part of what I wanted to illustrate in BGS Ibmore's call to the collective black guilt that black men have, because it's a one-sided street. An example would be, when was the last time you can remember someone in the black community coming up to you and saying, I'm going to invest in you as a black man because the future of black America relies on your success? How many black men can say that in any part of their life, they had substantial support from people saying, I'm going to invest in you emotionally, financially, etc., so that you can do something that's going to benefit all of us? More like it's been, you're supposed to sacrifice as the man, and you're not supposed to ask for anything back. And I think that Nameless Protagonist had a very good response to that simple idea.
I'm going to preface this by making an extremely important point. This may be a hot take. It may be an unpopular opinion, but it is my subjective opinion as the Nameless Protagonist. And I say this on a square I will stand on 125%. And this is going to upset a lot of people, but I'll just simply say it just like it is. We are the smoldering, and I'm including those that are in the ADOS social complex, those that are in the diaspora, and individuals on the continent. But the diaspora in particular, to include us here in the English-speaking West, we are the smoldering shambles of what's left over from the complete and utter decimation of the idea of a Black republic that was supposed to be spawned, nurtured, and empowered on the island of Hispaniola known as Haiti.
Yep.
That's what we were supposed to be. The world's first new Black republic.
Mm-hmm.
And you had it fumbled by the likes of Frederick Douglass, W.E.B. Du Bois, and people adopting the suffrage movement, which was infected with Marxism. That's why I'm trying to encourage people to have a greater open-minded and a higher resolution view of this, because the bigger picture at the end of the day is we were supposed to have formed a Black republic. It was seen as inevitable. It was something that they were working so hard to keep from happening. That's why this was a big deal until the conclusion of the Civil War, when they started pushing for this idea post-Reconstruction after Jim Crow to integrate.
I'm sure that there will be people that will argue with Nameless Protagonist's points about who is at fault for the current situation being what it is. But the truth of the matter is, we are in a situation where there are no Black structures of legacy that are there to participate in or to be kept by Black men. There is no anything to really inherit. It is really just a system of integrate into the system from which you come, make money so that you can essentially distribute resources to people that are basically telling you it's your job as a man to distribute resources. But there is no structure that is feeding into the young boys, Black boys specifically, to say that you're going to be the future leaders of the Black infrastructure that we've created in the Western Hemisphere. There's none of that. Out of respect for MrZBlackneffect, Nameless Protagonist, and G also, I want to show you the next minute or so of this unedited because it speaks to the realness of this conversation and the fact that Black men are now freer now than ever before in the history of our being, simply because there is no infrastructure built for which we should be maintaining. There is only people asking us to do stuff for them without people pouring into us. And in that situation, is pretty clear. Nameless Protagonist can explain it in clearer words than I can.
Go ahead.
So before anything I'm saying gets misconstrued or misunderstood, I encourage everybody to go back and replay what I said. I said we are the smoldering, burning remains of a Black republic that was never allowed to happen.
Nameless, let me pause you real quick. Because I got to play it. Seems pretty goddamn accurate to me.
Okay, and that's what I was going to get into.
How very Icelandic of you, Z.
Yeah, that's what I was going to. I agree with Nameless. I don't believe there's nothing for us to actually be beholden to. Like I'm of the understanding, and from my point of view is
But wait,
that.
I said that
Mhm.
so I can continue the point. Because
Go
I
ahead,
don't,
brother. Go ahead,
I
brother.
don't,
Go ahead.
yeah, I don't like leaving one angle and
Mhm.
not demonstrating the other. The importance of that is this. Now that you understand that, well, the key is understanding what we were supposed to be, why it was destroyed, and how. What that leaves us as men in this category, in this position rather, we are the most free people on planet Earth to decide what, when, where, and how our destiny can and will look like. Which is why I 125% advocate for the ideas behind political Mandalorianism, which is nothing about liberty. It's not talking about freedom. It's talking about autonomy. Autonomy. I think we are the most free to integrate into any culture or society we want to, genetically, nationally, or culturally, because we are quite literally the oldest genetic human beings on planet Earth. I like saying that essentially we're the grandparents of humanity, which means we have got some plug-in to quite literally get in where we fit in. And I think our best strategy, and the strategy that I've observed from us looking at our history as it relates to the rest of human beings, is we are the ultimate middlemen. The ultimate middlemen. We've got the capacity to show up anywhere and sell anything to anybody, to make anybody feel good about anything they want to do or not do. We have
Hey,
overcrowded martial power.
Out of respect to the content creators and the gentleman on the panel in MrZBlackneffect, nameless protagonist, G, and a variety of other gentlemen that were speaking here, I wanted to give this stream some time to breathe before I spoke on it. I don't want to seem that I'm jumping on this for just the idea or possibility of getting some views on it, but instead, I wanted to show that I have an interest in widening the view or the audience for this kind of pertinent conversation between black men. You even heard in the video from BJ Zipmore that this is a conversation, it is a kind of programming that's in black men that is difficult to get away from, that I can't leave because people that are calling me dusty and saying that I don't make enough money and I'm creating babies that I'm not taking care of might suffer if I leave. But again, the smoldering remains are just that we are born in a system where it's not very hard to look around and see. You go to pretty much any other country and they have systems to help their boys become the leaders of their country, their system. And in the black community, we don't have any of that. We just have, you're supposed to do X, Y, Z, A, B, and C because you're a man. But what does the man get back? That is a question that has not been answered properly. And at the same time, you're hearing a conversation in Japan where many older ladies felt duped by what they thought was going to be the kind of man that was going to make them happy. But really, they were fed a kind of image of men when they hadn't really even had a chance to meet the kind of men that we are. Men that are going to go to their country, adapt to their language, learn their cultures, and become part of it, and bring our Mandalorianism with us. It seems strange because there's been so much propaganda against black men in America that you don't take care of your kids, that you aren't responsible fathers, that you cheat, and all of these things that don't apply to a segment of men that the world really hasn't had a chance to meet. And on the other side of it, you're hearing Japanese women say that we thought that American men were X when we should have been judging them individually as Y. Basically, all of the rules have changed. There aren't any ground rules, and we're not part of a system that's depending on us to carry on something that is continuing. Instead, we are in a system where we're basically being asked to provide without getting anything back, except you're supposed to do it because you're a man. And as nameless protagonists say, that makes us the freest men on the planet. And I think it's time for more and more black men, stand-up black men that are looking to go overseas and assimilate, take heed and take advantage. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment below. I'll catch you in the next video. Take care, guys.